What's up, y'all? It's your boy DSC, and we're doing another edition of our YouTube. So today we're talking about something very near and dear to my heart, the Boston Celtics. I'm a Celtics fan, so I can be a homer at times, and I can also be very critical at times. But generally, I do have a very good pulse on the Celtics, and I want to talk about it today. Are the Boston Celtics legit, or are they just fool's gold, and we're looking at something that just isn't as good as it seems? We'll talk about it on the other side. What's up, y'all? Welcome to another weekly edition of our YouTube video. If you don't already know, I'm gonna be posting once a week going forward, maybe even two depending on how the content is. But this week, we're talking about the Boston Celtics. And like I said, as being a Boston Celtics fan, I am a homer at heart. I love my team. I want them to win every year, but it doesn't always work that way, obviously. But this year, the Celtics have literally been up and down to the point where, like, it's been hard to watch. And I try to watch every game. So I probably watch like 80% of the games unless I'm like doing something where I can't be in front of the TV. I have a really good idea of what this team is, or I thought I did, because early in the year, I was like, I'm done with this team. I can't watch them anymore. Now, they're like the hottest team in the NBA. I'm going to talk about the positives and negatives, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion of what the Celtics are at the end of this video, and if I think they can really do anything this year. So I have different levels of what doing something is. Where are they a legit playoff contender? Are they an Eastern Conference final team? Are they a championship team where they can make the NBA finals? Or are they a legit team that can win? I'm gonna kind of check off all those boxes throughout this video. So first, I want to talk about the number one thing of why I think the Celtics are doing so much better now is because of Marcus Smart particularly. So this is the reason why. Marcus Smart before this year, even earlier in the year, was a problem because he took too many shots. Now, he doesn't overdo it anymore. He shoots when he needs to and he makes the shots that are open to him, and he's been a great facilitator. He's been great for Jason Tatum. He's been great for Jaylen Brown. He's been getting open looks and really just been a pretty good point guard overall. And honestly, it's been so much better because he's not taking the shots out of the Jays' hands. So, which is causing Jason Tatum to shoot more, have the ball in his hands more, pass to Jaylen Brown. It's just been a really much better system, and I'm really happy with the outcome as it's been looking. Now, I think overall, the Celtics as a team have one of the most potentials in the NBA when it comes to like young stars, because Jaylen Brown at his peak is probably like a top 20 player in the NBA, maybe top 15 if he really gets there. Jason Tatum has superstar potential. He could actually be a top 5 player in the NBA, in my humble opinion, and there's really not any other young stars in the NBA, in my opinion, that I'd rather have over Jason Tatum. I'm gonna be making a video about that in my next video, about which young stars would you rather have. I mean, it's gonna be a really good one, so stay tuned for that. But outside of like Luka, John Morant, maybe Trae Young, Jason Tatum's the guy. I mean, he's awesome. He's a young guy, you know, can stretch the floor, but he can also take it to the hoop. I mean, he's really a stud, just a stud. With that being said, I think that the talent is there, and that's what always been the problem with the Celtics, because they've been so good, but they haven't been able to prove it all this time, and then now they're putting it together at arguably the best time possible. Let's talk about the negatives. I just think the Celtics are one player away, where like to be like a perennial championship contender every year, you know, automatically in that conversation. Jason Tatum, top 5 player, like I said, could be. Jaylen Brown could be top 20 player. Right there. That's a good one too. You're all set there. Robert Williams potentially could turn into that number 3 guy, but he's just not there yet. But he is the right type of player with that type of talent, because you don't want a guy who's the number 3 really taking all the shots, you know, taking the ball out of their hands. Robert Williams has been a defensive stud. He could turn into that, or he could be a really good trade bait for a really great player to come in the back end. So the Celtics are actually are in a good spot right now. They weren't before because of all the chemistry issues, but it seems like things are clicking on all cylinders. Number 2, they have no bench scoring. Kind of Pritchard, you know, Nesmith has just been a disaster. I feel bad for the kid. He can't even shoot. He's supposed to be a shooting specialist coming out of college. I don't even know what's happening to him. He just has no confidence. Hopefully they figure that out. Then bringing in Tice was actually a really good move because of just adding that depth scoring, and obviously Derek White. But Derek White's more of like a rotational player. He's a been a really good fit, and Brad Stevens nailed that. So he deserves a lot of credit for that. I do think the Celtics are also lacking a true point guard, where I think Marcus Smart's been great. He's been perfect for that role, but they're still missing someone like a Kemba Walker. Why they brought him in originally, where he's not even close to the same guy he was in Charlotte, but at that type of caliber of player to be a facilitator for the team and not take shots. But Smart's been great, but I think they need another guy just to elevate them to the next level. The reason why I brought up Kemba, I want to talk about that as well. On a side note, they absolutely nailed that trade for Al Horford, bringing him back, because originally I was like, ugh, hated it. I actually called it was going to happen when it happened before. I was on a podcast, said it, but it was more of a salary dump, I thought, and it was just like, oh, it's a good fit. Al Horford's been a real factor this year, arguably more of a factor than he ever has been on the Celtics, and he seems like a whole revitalized guy. He has set up really big minutes, big plays. He's been awesome. So I think he's been huge for the Celtics and a big part of why they've been so good. That trade was insane. I can't even believe how good it was, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. They knocked it out of the park. A couple of positives that I didn't really mention. They are playing as a unit that I feel like we have never seen with the Celtics. Like, they've always been so talented. They've always had that stuff, but they never put it together the way they are right now. So I think that truly this is the best version of the Celtics we've ever seen with this current group. There's been better teams, maybe with like Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward. That team was just such a tough situation because they were so good, and that was the best team with Terry Rozier. Team was great. But they're playing as a unit, and going into that point, I think Ime Udoka has a big part of that. You know, I don't think Brad Stevens is a bad coach at all. I think he was actually kind of underrated in the grand scheme of things. I think Ime, what he brings is obviously the defensive edge. The team has been great. Literally, the team has been the best defensive team in the NBA recently. So I have some stats here from StatMuse. I mean, they're awesome on Twitter. I don't know if you follow them, but you should. They're amazing. They bring so much to the table. The Celtics started the season 18-21, and since then, they're 39-27 since that time. So they went on a ridiculous streak. They've been winning games against really good teams, and it's been a great thing. And back to the StatMuse points, Jaylen Brown made this tweet. It says the energy is about to shift, and ever since that time frame, the Celtics have been 13-2 since that tweet, and they've won 10 of those wins are against current playoff teams. So they've been winning games that are actually meaningful for the standings, as well as really just doing good litmus tests, is just proving that they're good enough to beat teams that are in the playoffs. And they just beat the Nets. I know that the Nets are not at full caliber, but Kyrie Irving played, Kevin Durant played. Kevin Durant's unbelievable. I know he's coming off of an injury, but they deserve a lot of credit for this. Like, I think that what they're doing is legit. And then also, the Celtics have the best defense in the NBA per several metrics. I'm not a stat guy, so I don't have all the numbers, but this is per StatMuse. They have the best field goal percentage defense in the NBA. They have the best point differential in 2022. They're unbelievable right now. And oh, let's also mention that Jason Tatum just dropped 54 points against the Nets. Like, the reason why Jason Tatum bothers me is that I think he is that good, and he can turn it on at any time, whenever he wants. But whenever a big guy comes into town, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, one of these big superstars, he wants to prove to them that he's in that category, and he drops buckets. It always happens. However you slice it, Jason Tatum is in that conversation for one of the greatest young players in the NBA right now, and he's a stud. I mean, like, really, really good. With all that being said, I think the Celtics, here's my thought process on this. Unfortunately, I'm not totally buying in the Celtics. I'm buying in on them making a realistic push for the Eastern Conference Finals. I do think they have that in them. I still don't think they're better than Philly. I still don't think they're better than the Bucks, and I still don't think they're better than the Nets at fully loaded rosters. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the team blows me out of the way, brings me to the NBA Finals. I will be rooting for them to do that, but I just don't see it happen. If you're asking me, I want the Celtics to play like the Cavs in the first round. Pretty good team, little low expectations where them just making the playoffs is great. The Celtics have a lot of pressure there. I want them to beat the hell out of them and then get some confidence going to the next round against Philly, the Nets, whoever they play, and really show that they belong there. And so my expectation for the Celtics right now is them making the Eastern Conference Finals. That would be a great season in my opinion, especially from where we were in the beginning of the season, but I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I really hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. That's it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please subscribe down below, leave a comment, leave a like. It really helps the channel. And thanks so much for the support, guys. This has been awesome, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. We'll talk next week. Love y'all.